Hello everyone and welcome to Season 3 of Chase's Org Thingy summary recap of Survivor Atlantis. I even changed into the blue shirt for Atlantis and everything. I know, I look like a Best Buy employee. But if you haven't seen the recap videos for Season 1 and 2, I highly recommend going back and watching them. Season 3 was a little bit different. We had a few other twists. We introduced a safari for the first time in our org's history, where you get to look around different areas and explore the land of Atlantis and try to find the idols hidden within it, and also maybe some other advantages. We also introduced sponsorships in this season, where the players would be able to find them and sponsor another player. So when you got a sponsorship, you could choose between a 50-50 chance at an advantage or a disadvantage. So big risk, big reward. You could choose an idol clue, and this idol clue was actually just the starting command to the safari, since the safari was hidden and not everyone had access to it from the start. And the final one is a piece of information. This information could include auction information, it could include challenge information, merge information, or final tribal council information. And there were a handful of sponsorships that went around. Some of them impacted the game. A lot of them had no real impact, as most people just went for the idol clue. So I will mention the sponsorships as they come up when necessary, but a lot of the sponsorships that happened this season I won't even mention because they didn't have any actual impact on the season. So without further ado, let's get into episode 1. "20 new cast members walk into the underwater city of Atlantis. Thought to never be real and to never be found if it was real, these 20 cast members did end up finding it. Now, they weren't in tribes just yet. We gave them 24 hours to join into the server and also to get to talk to everybody else before they were put into tribes. So when they're split up and for future swaps, there wouldn't be as many tribal lines and there would be people that connected instantly. So a few of these connections were Ruben and Jonas connected very quickly. Nevid and Dragon connected quickly as well, but Nevid also made a few enemies. So Nevid was playing as a character this season. Everything that he said was in quotation marks, and he started every single DM by sending a fan art picture of buff Freddy Fazbear from Five Nights at Freddy. He was only wearing a Speedo and in this kind of pose, and he would just send that image and then hey underneath it. And some people found him to be hilarious and wanted to work with him instantly. Other people got rather annoyed at Nevid and wanted him out very quickly. But those were about all the notable things that happened within that 24-hour time period. But then we got divided up into our two tribes. The way that we did this is we had numbers 1 through 20, one for each member of the cast, and everyone would pick a number. Now, each number coordinated to a tribe. They did not know which tribes they were coordinated to. It was just, do you want number 1? Yep, all right, cool, you end up on this tribe. But some of those numbers, unknown to the players, had things hidden behind them. One of them had a sponsorship, and a few of them had routes to the safari, which were given out sometimes, which were kept to themselves sometimes. But the safari was hidden right away, and some people instantly got that information and had a head start on looking for those idols. But let's get into the tribe breakdown. So on the Timaeus tribe, we have Adam, Corkhager, Master Gamers, Ruben, Neptune, Jaffe, Ice Master, Noah, Toaster, and Jack MC. And on the Kretos tribe, we have Minty, Nevid, Shining Aura, It's Me Lol, Killer, Giacomo, or G, as I will refer to him and as he nicknamed himself in the season, Bing, Echo, Jonas, and Dragon. Now, in this first challenge, it actually didn't end the way that we thought. Before the challenge ended, Shining Aura decided to walk from the game and quit. No real reason was provided, but they decided to walk and they were the first boot. But we continued on with the challenge. We made it an average score among all the members to make it even, so an average of 9 and an average of 10. And the Timaeus tribe ended up losing, but Jack was very inactive, and he ended up striking out before any votes were casted either. So 2 people are gone, and not a single vote has been read yet. So we're now down to our final 18. We had planned for 2 tribal councils and 2 votes to go down, but since they hadn't, we decided we would go along with our planned tribe swaps. Now we are going to 3 tribes of 6, and here are the tribes. So on the new Timaeus tribe, we have Noah, Dragon, Jaffe, Echo, It's Me, and Killer. On the Kretos tribe, we have Minty, G, Neptune, Jonas, Bing, and Adam. Now on this Kretos tribe, we have a strong alliance start to form between Minty, Jonas, and Bing. And then on the Georges tribe, we have Ruben, Toaster, Ice Master. Sorry, I'm dyslexic, so it looked weird. Nevid, Master Gamers, and Corkhager. Now, before the challenge, or right as the challenge ended, Echo did not submit for it. He got 3 strikes, and he was sent home before any vote took place. But we did continue on. We once again went out and averaged out all the numbers, and we ended up going to the Georges tribe camp as they lost and were sent to tribal council. Now, in the Georges, it's important to note that Nevid was swapped at a 5-to-1 disadvantage. So all the other people on this tribe are from the other tribe in the beginning. But Nevid's relationships from this 24-hour period with people that liked him and found him funny helped save him and bring him out. He ended up becoming very close allies with Ruben and Toaster during this time period, and because of some inactivity, they ended up to vote for Master Gamers. It was a 5-to-1 vote, 5 for Master Gamers, and he actually voted for Ruben instead of Nevid. Alright, so in this next challenge, we had a scavenger hunt where we had 60 items, and every item that you find counts as 1 point. Now, Corkhager decided, you know what? I don't really want to do this challenge. I don't want to put the time and energy into finding normal stuff. So I'm just going to throw this challenge. I'm going to abstain, and I'm not going to do it. Well, all the scores were public, so the Georges lost for a 2nd time in a row. But when they went back to camp, they had to try and vote somebody off, which seems to be Corkhager because he didn't submit. However, Corkhager had been very active, and Ice Master wasn't too active at all. So Corkhager does have an out of somebody else that's fairly inactive. But that's not what he wants to do. So Corkhager then pulls in Nevid and Ruben to try and blindside Toaster. Now these are Toaster's 2 closest allies, and they immediately go to Toaster and tell him. Well, another thing to add is that there's more drama to this tribal. Earlier in the day, Toaster found a hidden immunity idol. So now if he wants to play it, he can play his idol if he doesn't trust his allies. But it is a 3-to-2 right now. Ice Master is being left out of all the plans. However, on the flip side, Corkhager also found an idol. We had one idol that had 2 parts, and it was a shared idol. So what that means is one person can only find 1/2 of that idol. So there's 2 halves hidden in separate locations. Once someone finds that first half, it is theirs and their idol to play alone until the second person finds the idol. So when the second person finds it, they will both be put into one chat regardless of their tribe. So this is a legal cross tribe if they both find it at the same time, and you both get an idol. But you have to say that you're playing the idol before the other person does to actually play the idol. And Corkhager found it and decided to tell absolutely no one about it. So Toaster and Corkhager have their guns pointed at each other, and both of them have idols. Well, Toaster ended up getting the majority on his side with Nevid and Ruben. Corkhager thought he had the majority on his side, and Ice Master was just kind of there. So it ended up being 3 votes Corkhager, 1 vote Toaster, and Ice Master voted for Ruben again. But Corkhager did not play his idol, and he got sent home with an idol in his pocket, and that second half got re-hidden back into the game, but it got hidden where the other shard is. So now whoever finds it will know the location of both shared idols. So after the first real kind of crazy vote of the pre-merge happens, Georgia's are safe once again. And this time the Timaeus tribe loses the challenge. Nothing really exciting happens this vote. They just vote out someone who's fairly inactive. So it was a 5-1 vote. 5 votes for Noah and 1 vote for Killer. Noah was sent home. It is Final 14 now, and we decide that we're going to merge early. We wanted to throw them a curveball. It started off as a fairly individual game with people with no tribes, so we wanted to give them the biggest merge that we had ever had to date. And let's go over some key alliances that had already formed going into this Final 14. So we have Bing, Jonas, and Minty as a tight trio. We also have Nevid, Toaster, and Ruben. Now these two trios start to work together to make a core 6. But we also have Nevid, Jonas, and Dragon. And then finally we also have Jaffe and Neptune. Now Jaffe and Neptune are also lumped into this big, massive majority alliance. These were all the fairly active people. This cast unfortunately had a lot of inactive people. And Bing wins the first challenge, and they decide to go for one of the inactive people again. So, in a 10-3-1 vote, Ice Master gets sent home, Gerakimo had 3 votes, and Killer had 1 vote, and that 1 vote was from himself, since he did not submit a vote, so it was a self-vote. So, going into this next vote, I had mentioned that Nevid may have annoyed some people, and you either loved him or hated him. Well, It's Me didn't like Nevid. In fact, they actually blocked him. And in the tribe chat, Nevid said, "Hey, can the person who unblocked me please unblock me?" And then they tried to get everybody else on the tribe to help them have It's Me unblock Nevid, which didn't work out, and yeah, it just didn't work out. That Nevid, I think, is still blocked by It's Me, lol. But on the bright side, Nevid then goes on to win immunity. And they go for another inactive vote. Currently, there are 2 people with 2 strikes to their name. Killer has 2 strikes, one from that self-vote from last tribal, and he had another one earlier in the game. And Gerakimo has 2 self-votes on him as well. Killer was a little bit active. He was talking to some people. Gerakimo wasn't really talking to anyone, so they targeted Gerakimo in a 12-1 vote. However, Gerakimo submitted a vote, and Killer did not. So, Killer gets a self-vote, gets his 3rd strike, and no votes are read, and Killer gets quote-unquote medevaced from the game, and Gerakimo is still left alive. Alright, so in this next episode, Gerakimo suddenly comes to life. He goes, "Oh, crap, I was about to go out, this gave me a second chance. I want to try to redeem myself. I want to play the game." And he went into alliance chats, he started DMing people like, "Hey, I want to work with you, I want to play." The challenge happens, and there are 2 things up for grabs. The first thing is immunity. But if you think that you're safe and don't want to go for immunity, but instead want to go for something that could help you out later down the line, you could play for an advantage in the game. Now, no one knew what this advantage was, and everyone would know that you got the advantage when you got it. Well, Minty ends up winning immunity, and Nevid wins the challenge, or the advantage. Now, this advantage is a challenge advantage. I know, Freudian slipped, spoiler alert. But Nevid decides that he wants to try and show everyone that this is not a good thing, that I tricked them, and that it wasn't actually a challenge advantage, it was a self-vote. So, Nevid purposely self-votes. He doesn't get a strike because he did submit a vote. He just submitted his vote for himself and played it off as, hey, this is the self-vote that I get. He actually wrote Nevid, self-vote. On the parchment he wrote Nevid, self-vote, this is what you get for going for an advantage. However, when we get to the actual vote, Giacomo starts a feud in the general chat and starts to say Bing is going to win this entire game, and then calls out Minty in particular for being his goat, because Minty was talking in tribal, and Giacomo went, Minty, I don't know why you think you deserve to win or anything. You're playing a horrible game. You're just Bing's goat this whole time. You need to grow a spine. And to that comment, she replies with, I'll grow a spine when you grow a social game. So Giacomo gets voted out. It is a pretty convincing vote. It is a 9-2-1 vote. 9 votes go to Giacomo, 2 votes go to It's Me, and 1 vote goes to Nevid. And of course, that was Nevid that voted for himself. And Giacomo gets voted out of the game with the new record of most votes ever received or casted against somebody else, because he was technically voted out twice. So for our next challenge, we have the Survivor auction. However, before the auction started, actually a couple rounds ago, Toaster had gotten a sponsorship, and he chose challenge information, which told him about the auction. It said that every single item, except for immunity and the third item, will be covered. However, 3 of those covered items will have absolutely nothing underneath them. But if you want to guarantee that you will get something, the second covered item will have something under it. So he knew that there would be only 1 uncovered item and that the first covered item would have something on it. So let's get to the actual items at play and who won them. So first up is the actual immunity necklace. Nevid bid on the immunity necklace and won it, so Nevid is safe from this vote. The second item is covered. Now, this was won by Toaster, who knew that there is something under this. He goes, 2's just, I feel lucky with this. He went to his alliance. They're like, what do we want to bid on so that we don't go anything? He's like, I don't know, I kind of want item number 2. I just have a good feeling about it. Now, what this item is it is a fire-making decision. So, as most of you probably know, on the show, they have changed the Final 4 to forced fire-making, where the winner of the final immunity challenge picks 1 person to be safe, and the other 2 people are forced to fire-making, and whoever wins it moves on. And before, it would just be a straight-up vote at the Final 4. Well, this item lets Toaster choose if he wants it to be a forced fire-making or a straight-up vote before the challenge starts. And if he gets voted out before Final 4, he gets to will it to somebody else. Now, there are a bunch of other covered items, but the idol nullifier is 1 item up for grabs, and Nevid gets it again. So Nevid is immune and has a nullifier. And the only other thing that was of any importance was the legacy advantage gotten by It's Me lol. Now, in this vote, Adam finds a sponsorship hidden and sponsors Jonas, who earns a safety without power, but tells Adam that the item that he got was information. He went for information and not the risky 50-50 advantage, and that final tribal council will be a final 3 and not a final 2, which was a lie, but ended up being true in the end. But this vote is pretty basic. Outside of that, it was an 8-2-1 vote. It's Me lol got voted out. Adam got 2 votes, and Minty got 1 vote. It's Me lol then willed the legacy advantage to Jonas. So, for this next vote, we have all of the inactive people gone. Everyone left is fairly active. It is the final 10, and all of them have basically been doing a 25-day marooning for a 10-person season. But in this next episode, before it begins, we do have one final sad announcement. Dragon then walks due to too much happening IRL and some mental health issues and struggles that she was going on with. So Dragon ended up walking and going in 10th place. So this changes things a little bit. And this was before the challenge happened. So challenge happens and Nevid wins immunity again. And then Neptune gets targeted very quickly. It's between Neptune and Adam, and no one's really sure which way it goes, because this big majority have been running it, and they're deciding, do we go for the person on the outs of our majority, or do we try and drag Adam in now and try to get out someone that we want to make a big move? So they were thinking about Neptune. So Jonas then goes, you know what? I'm really close with Neptune, and I want to keep Neptune in this game. I'm going to give him my safety without power, because he had just gotten the legacy advantage. So it gives his safety without power to Neptune to go, hey, if you feel like you're in trouble, use it. We may not need you to use it, but use it. Now, Neptune is very skeptical that this is actually a real safety without power. He thinks that it might just be a fake, that Jonas is just going, hey, I found this. Here you go. But the vote happens, and Neptune does not use it. The vote is 8-1, 8 votes for Adam, and then 1 vote for Jaffe, who Adam had targeted and had been left out of the loop, so Adam got sent home. So this brings us to the final 8, the cannibalization of the 8-person majority alliance, as now they had to start voting each other out. And there were a bunch of different duos in this group. There were started off as 2 trios in a duo, but it's more so woven into 4 duos. So we have Minty and Bing that are one tight duo, and Jonas is in their trio. But Jonas also has a very #1 close relationship with Ruben, who is a part of the Nevid and Toaster trio. Nevid and Toaster, on the other hand, are like this with each other as well, and they're #1s. And then we have Jaffe and Neptune, who have been #1s basically from the start of this game and have become really close. So going into the immunity challenge, Minty ends up winning immunity and goes back to the trio and is like, all right, who do we want to go out? Well, they decide on a name, and Jonas decides, you know what, I don't want to go along with this plan, as they had decided to vote for Neptune. And he was like, you know what, Neptune has my advantage, I really want to work with Neptune, but if they do end up voting for Neptune, how do I get this advantage back? So Jonas then devises a plan to fake a hidden idol. And he goes, all right, so I do want the safety without power back, but in exchange for it, I will give you my immunity idol. So Neptune agrees to this, hands him his advantage back, and gets a fake idol in return. But also, Jonas goes, I want to try and get out the power player in Bing. So he pulls in Neptune and Jaffe. Then he goes to Ruben and goes, hey, do you think your trio would want to do this and work with this? And Ruben goes, yes. And Ruben and Jonas had talked to each other about being in separate trios as well, so they both know about each other. So Nevid and Toaster get pulled in on this plan as well. And Jonas actually goes to Minty and tells her what is happening, and Minty, not very happily, agrees to it. So Bing has no idea this is happening. No one had told Bing. They had all lied to him and acted and kept it up, and somehow no one went back to Bing to tell him about this plan. So this ends up being a 7-1 vote, 7 votes for Bing, 1 vote for Neptune, and Bing was completely blindsided. Alright, so before we get to the challenge, and before the challenge ends, someone found a little something in the safari. Toaster, who has 2 idols of the 3, finds the 3rd idol, and it is the shareable idol. Now, Toaster decides, you know what, I actually want to have a shareable idol. I want to try and build trust with someone in this game. Now, I already have a lot of trust with Nevid, but if I tell him about this and give him the other half and tell him where it is, I think I will secure my alliance with Nevid to where he will never flip on me. Whether it's now, Final 5, or Final 4, me and Nevid will be tight until the very end. So he tells Nevid, and Nevid gets the other half of that shareable idol, along with his idol nullifier. Now, during this time, the challenge is going on, and the challenge ends with Ruben winning. But Nevid has a little bit too much power now. You know, he's very social, and everyone left in the game loves him. All the people that were annoyed by him got voted out by now and didn't make jury. So everyone on the jury loves Nevid. Everyone still playing in the game loves Nevid, and just his incredible social game. So Jaffe goes, you know what? I want to make a move now. Jonas got Bing out and got a big move for his resume. I want to be the one to make a big move. I haven't done anything all game because I haven't really had a chance to. No one really has. Jonas took his opportunity. I want to take mine. Now, I could go for Jonas, but I need Jonas for this plan. So me and Neptune are going to vote for Nevid because we're a duo. And we want Jonas and Minty to join us. So he goes to Jonas and Minty and tells them, hey, we're voting for Nevid. Will you join us? And Jonas and Minty are like, yeah, we'll absolutely join you to vote for Nevid. And then when they're like, yeah, cool. Jonas like, hey, sidebar real quick. Yeah, you don't want to vote for Nevid, do you? No, not really. I really don't want to vote for Nevid. Yeah, me neither. I don't really want to vote for Nevid either. Who should we vote for? Well, Jaffe just threw out Nevid's name. Why don't we just throw out Jaffe's name? Alright, yeah, that works for me. Hey, Nevid, Jaffe's throwing out your name. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh. Well, that sucks. Hey, Toaster, my #1 ally, will you vote with me? Yeah. Hey, Ruben, one of my other allies, and Jonas is #1 ally, will you vote with me? Yeah. Alright, cool, just guess Jaffe's going home. So, in a 5-2 vote, Jaffe gets flipped on and is voted out with 5 votes, 2 votes to Nevid, leaving Neptune all alone, having no idea that the numbers had flipped. Well, after Tribal Council, Neptune then realized that the votes had flipped and started to go off in the tribe chat, especially against Jonas, because he had trusted Jonas. Jonas had given him advantages. He gave him his idol. And he was like, yo, Jonas, what the hell was that? Why would you flip on me? You know, you blindside your #1 ally, then you flip on me. No one in this game can trust you because you're playing as a complete and utter snake. You know, you've turned on 2 close allies and left me hanging here. And so Neptune and Jonas get into this feud in the chat. But while this feud is going on, Toaster then goes, you know what? Neptune brings up some really good points. Jonas made a beautiful blindside. He then orchestrated another good vote on Jaffe. You know, Jonas is in a huge position of power. However, I can't turn on him without screwing over my alliance, you know? So, what I want to do is I have 3 idols. I want to give one of them to Neptune to play it. So, for this tribal council, or for the challenge, Ruben ends up winning, so Ruben is safe at the vote. And so now, Toaster goes to Minty and Neptune, is like, hey, look, Jonas screwed both of you guys over. I say that we should get out Jonas here and now, and I will give you my idol Neptune so that you can play it at Tribal Council. You will be safe from the votes, and then you'll have a majority, but it will be null. You'll get a big play in that you actually play an idol, and we'll send Jonas home. Minty, however, didn't like this plan. So she said, yeah, I'm good with this. And then she brought Neptune aside and goes, all right, look, I don't want to vote out Jonas. And I think that you made up some really good points about Jonas being a snake. Well, Jonas screwed over 2 people on the jury. And if he screws over more people, everyone is going to think that they can't trust him. So why would we get Jonas out now when we can do it later down the line? Or if Jonas makes Final Tribal, the jury is going to be so bitter at him, who would ever vote for him? And Neptune goes, this is brilliant. Yeah, let's vote out Nevid. But they don't tell Toaster, and Neptune takes his idol. However, it is also the final 6. And this is the last time that Jonas can play his legacy advantage, as it's only good at final 9 and final 6. So, votes come in, 4 votes for Neptune and 2 votes for Nevid. Now, the votes haven't been read yet, but that is the vote count. So Neptune has majority votes and Nevid has the second most. Well, I go, anyone like to play an idol? Neptune plays his idol. Jonas then goes, oh shit. Well, guess I'm playing my legacy advantage. To which Toaster then goes, oh no, this has gone so poorly. Yeah, I'm playing my idol. I'm saving myself. And then Nevid goes, hey, we have the shared idol. I'm sorry, Toaster, but I am using this now, and I am getting the hell out of Dodge. Now, Nevid does have the idol nullifier, but he forgets that he has it. So he doesn't play it, and he doesn't nullify Neptune's vote. So, no votes count for Neptune, no votes count for Nevid. No one can vote for Jonas on the revote, no one can vote for Toaster on the revote because they played idol and legacy advantage, and Ruben won immunity. That means that for the second time in a row, someone gets voted out without any votes. And I still don't know how this happened because we made it so that idols weren't willed anymore. We put a idol nullifier in there. We made it so that there were only 3 idols the entire game, and one person found all 3 of them. So basically, Toaster single-handedly idled out Minty from the game, and Minty ends up going home in 6th place. Well, now it is the final 5, and we have 2 duos and the very pissed off Neptune. So for this challenge, Neptune realizes his back is against the wall. He had started another feud in the tribe chat with Jonas afterwards, where Jonas is like, hey, why'd you play that idol? No one was voting for you. And Neptune's like, alright, dude, cut the horse shit. I know that I was going home there. That's why I played it. And so all this back and forth is going on. And Toaster and Nevid decide, you know what? I think it's time to just cut our losses and vote for Neptune. You know, we don't think Jonas is going to get any votes in the end because he keeps pissing off the jury. He's fighting with Neptune. He's blindsided 2 of them, and he lost Minty, who is his number. So it's us and Ruben, who they didn't know how close Jonas and Ruben actually were at this time. So they went, you know what, but we'll just get rid of Neptune, and then we'll get rid of Jonas next. Jonas hasn't won anything, so it's not a big risk. And in that challenge, Nevid ends up winning it, so it doesn't really matter what happens. Neptune gets voted out 4-1, with 1 vote onto Ruben, actually, instead of Jonas. Then, in the next vote, Nevid finally uses that challenge advantage that he had earned way at the start of the merge. He had saved it up and used it at that Final 4 immunity challenge. And now, Nevid ends up winning this. So, we now have 2 and 2. Nevid and Toaster versus Ruben and Jonas. And Ruben and Nevid start to talk, and they go, alright, what do we think? Well, we both like both of them. You know, we don't want to vote either of them out. However, once again, Jonas has pissed off jury members, and Toaster has played a fantastic social game. He found 3 idols. He played them all correctly to get someone else voted out. He's voted with the majority every single time. You know, Toaster has just played a fantastic game. We have to get out Toaster. And as I had mentioned before, but I'd forgotten to mention for this vote, Toaster got to decide if it was a Final 4 forced fire making or straight up vote, and he chose a straight up vote. Well, in the straight up vote, it ended up being a 3-1 vote. Jonas got 1 vote, ruining his perfect game. Somehow he had not gotten a vote to this point, and Toaster ended up with 3 votes and is headed home, meaning that we have Nevid, Ruben, and Jonas in the final 3. So, going into this final tribal council, there is a huge advantage going towards Nevid. The jury loved him. Everyone loved his social game. Once again, everyone was pissed off at Jonas. And Ruben had been playing a very under-the-radar game, and none of them really noticed it or paid much attention to it. So, going into the speeches, Ruben talked about his under-the-radar game, and people started to really notice and respect his under-the-radar game. Nevid gave a good speech about how social he was and about a couple of the moves that he made socially in the game, but he didn't touch on any of the strategic moves. Jonas comes in and goes, all right, look, I realize that I have ruined almost all of your guys' trust. I have backstabbed and blindsided. I have lied to all of you. Neptune, I bullshitted my way through advantages with you, and I understand that. And I admit and own up to all of those moves. Those were all me. And I am also the reason that every single one of you is sitting on the jury. I am. I'm the reason that all of you got voted out of this game. And then he laid out beautifully all of the moves, why he made the moves, why he would engage in these feuds to make people think, well, the jury hates him, and people did think that, and the jury kind of agreed with it a little bit. And so he would talk about how it took the target off of his back, because who would want to vote out the guy that the jury hates, that the jury's not going to vote out? This is a Russell Hantz all over again. And he answers every question perfectly. And all of the jury members were like, yeah, no, Jonas had no shot in hell of getting my vote, but now I can't think of a way not to vote for him. So, Come to the End is actually our biggest margin of a win to date throughout all 5 seasons that we finished now. And Jonas ends up winning 6-1. Nevid got 1 vote. Ruben unfortunately didn't get any votes. And Jonas got 6 votes and won Season 3 Survivor Atlantis. So, now that the season is over, let's look over some of the awards that we handed out. So, our first award is the Most Robbed. This one's pretty obvious. Minty wins it. Hands down, she didn't get a single vote when she got voted out. Minty deserves it. Best Confessionals go to Nevid. They were basically a copy-paste of Freddy Fazbear fan art, as well as commentary. Almost all of the episode titles were from Nevid. So he would meme in his confessionals, he would troll in there, and he'd also throw in his actual strategy as the game was going on, and production just found it hilarious. Most Chaotic, surprisingly, wasn't Nevid. It was actually Jonas for giving an advantage to Neptune, and then giving a fake idol to get that advantage back, backstabbing people, blindsiding people, and all the general craziness and chaos that came from Jonas's game. Biggest rivals, obviously Jonas and Neptune. There's no real question about that one. Fan favorite was also Jonas. The hero of the season was Minty. She was very loyal. She did backstab Bing, but she didn't like it, and she didn't want to be left out of the majority. So she stayed loyal throughout most of this game, and she got voted out, not because people wanted her gone, because that's just how it happened. The villain of the season is Drachimo for starting a bunch of different fights. While Neptune did start and instigate a few of the fights and the feuds, all of them were pretty tame, and it was mostly strategic votes. It never got actually personal. And in the Drachimo Minty fight, while it didn't get personal, he was saying stuff like, grow a spine, you're a goat, you're going to the end. So Drachimo gets villain of the season. And our final award for player of the season goes to Toaster for finding every single idol in the game, creating the new record for most idols found in a single season, for idling out someone without playing a vote, whether it was intentional or not, he idled them out, and for having an amazing social game. And Toaster just played one hell of a game. So, let me know your thoughts about this season down below, and congratulations once again, Jonas, on winning Season 3.